Hey guys, Jake Palat here, and today I'm going to run you through how to do a toe-side, frontside 360 wakeboarding. It's probably not the easiest 360 to learn first, but if you have a couple different 360s under your belt, this is a great one to add to your repertoire because there's a lot of room for experimentation, and it's a lot of fun to play around with it and try different grabs and just get creative with it. So, to get started with toe-side 360s, step one is making sure that you have a really good toe-side wake jump. Having that fundamental is totally key for being able to do a toe-side 360. That's really the whole first half of it. What you're aiming for with a toe-side 360 is to ride up the wake into the air, treating it like it's just a toe-side jump, and then you spin the 360 on the way down. The later you can do it, the easier it is to be over your toes on the landing. For that reason, having the fundamental of a really solid toe-side wake-to-wake jump is key for this trick. To start out, I recommend doing it one wake, so slowing the boat down to between 16, 18 miles an hour, wherever you can get the wake clean without having to clear both wakes and go wake to wake with it. So normally that would be rope around 70 feet and then between 16 to 18-ish miles an hour. To warm up, I recommend doing a couple one-wake toe-side straight airs, just to get that feeling because it's a little bit different to go back from jumping wake to wake toe-side and getting a feel for your air awareness going one wake. So warm up with a couple toe-side one wake jumps, just doing a straight air, keeping your body position, standing tall, handle it nice and close by your hip, and try to get your fundamentals of a toe-side jump completely dialed before you start going for that 360. So as I said a little earlier, the key for this one is waiting. If you try to spin early up the wake or right off the wake, it's pretty easy to get hung up and have a hard time making it around on the 360. So the key is the longer you wait off the wake, rising up with that handle in by your hip, standing tall, the easier it is to kind of whip that 360 around last second, setting you right over your toes on the landing. So when you're ready to go for your first one wake, toe side, front side 360, you only want to cut out away from the wake as far as you need to get the pop that you're looking for, which is probably about 5 or 10 feet. Definitely not more than that, because if you go more than that, you're gonna travel a lot across the wake, making your landing a little harder. Our goal on this one is to land pretty much right in the bubbles, straight behind the boat. So cut out wide enough that you can start a toe side edge and maintain it through the wake. Really think about standing tall, handle in close, and holding your edge all the way up and through the wake. So once you're at the peak of your jump, to get the 360 started, you want to think about bringing your back hip up towards the handle. So if you're left foot forward, you're bringing the handle from your left hip that you took off with, bringing it over to the right side of your body, and that's allowing you to freely rotate that 360 and just stuff that handle in your back pocket when you land. If you're right foot forward, you're keeping the handle locked in at your front hip, at your right hip, through the takeoff. Once you're at the peak of your jump, moving that handle across to your left hip and bringing that hip up to the handle to help you rotate that 360. It's really important to keep your eyes up on this trick. So what I look for is a point across the lake or at a shoreline or wherever you can spot to keep your eyes up and not looking down where you're landing or at the wake. So as you ride up the wake, make sure you keep your eyes up, picking out a point in the distance so that your eyesight stays level, rising up through the top, moving that handle over to your back hip, and then keeping the handle in nice and close and just stuffing it in your back pocket on the landing. What I mean by that is you're basically placing the back of your hand right in the lower part of your back, and that's keeping that handle in nice and close so that when you land wrapped, you don't get pulled out the back too much. If you're having trouble staying over your board on the landing and falling backwards on your heels, one thing that helps me is once I land, I look back over my back leg, and that allows me to keep leaning against the line over my toes and keep direction moving out away from the boat. And that helps with a wrap landing a lot. It's very easy to over-rotate just a little bit and end up falling over your heels. So for this trick, where your eyes are looking is super important. So on the takeoff, eyes up. On the landing, you're looking just 45 degrees out the back over your back leg so that you have some pressure on your toes on the landing. If you're having a hard time holding on to the handle, it's probably because you're letting the handle get too far away from your body. So make sure you keep that handle in nice and close. The goal is to move as efficiently as possible. If you're moving the handle around your body in a really wide circle, you're moving slowly and inefficiently. The closer into your hip you can keep it, the more friendly it's going to be and easier to get that 360 around. Make sure as you come in for the landing, you have soft knees ready to absorb the landing and you're looking out over your back leg. The wrap landings can be a little bit tricky to figure out, so if you need, you can do another drill of doing ollie backside 180s, regular and switch, and that'll help you get used to landing wrapped if you've never done it before. So once you get the Toeside 360 pretty dialed in one wake, it's time to take it wake to wake, which is where it really gets fun. So go back out to your length that you're used to riding at, or if you're a little bit nervous about it, you can bring your rope in a little bit so the wake isn't quite as wide. And you're treating it just like a Toeside wake jump, the same way we started doing one wake. So warm up with a couple Toeside jumps, making sure you're taking off right, having the right body position through the top of the wake, into the air, and on the landing. So once you've done some warm up Toeside wake to wake jumps, and you feel like you're ready to go for that toe 3, it's the same thing as one wake, you just have more air time. So start out nice and wide, come into the wake with just enough speed to clear the wakes. Make sure you stand up nice and tall with that handle locked in by your front hip through the takeoff, and really let yourself rise up all the way to the peak of the jump before you even start thinking about spinning. Like I said earlier, on the one wake toe 3, the earlier you pull and try to get into the 360, the more difficult it is to spin it around. So the longer you wait, if you can do the 360 on the way down from your jump, it's going to set you in a really nice position over your toes on the landing, and the spin is just going to happen really efficiently. So it's the same thing as one wake. We keep our body position strong, standing tall through the wake, through the peak of the jump, and then we're just bringing our back hip up to the handle, moving the handle across our body, and then tucking it in your back pocket for the landing. The impact is going to be a little bit harder, so you're going to have to be ready for that on the landing coming from one wake. All that is just confidence in yourself and this new trick. So just be ready for the landing with soft knees, ready to stand strong and pass that handle once you get around. If you find yourself landing over your heels or having a hard time rotating the 360, it's likely because you're just spinning too early. So really go back to the roots of riding all the way to the peak of your jump with that handle locked in at your front hip and holding that straight, perfect toe side position. That way you can be set over your toes on the landing. It can be a tricky one to not over-rotate because it's a freaky feeling coming out of it landing blind like that. But the more you do it, the more you'll start to trust the movement and it gets more comfortable over time for sure. Nice thing about this trick is there's a million different ways you can do a Toeside 360. If you're having a hard time landing wrapped, you can pass the handle, that's totally fine. Landing wrapped to me takes one extra step out of it and makes it a little easier to land over your toes and ready for the landing. But if you're finding yourself struggling with it, go ahead and pass the handle and just make sure you keep standing tall through the landing, continuing out away from the wake. This trick is a ton of fun and there's a million different ways you can grab it, and it's really fun to just go experiment with no matter what skill level you're at. So I highly recommend, once you've done it wake to wake, go ahead and start throwing a grab on it. Melon grab is one of the easiest ones. Nose is cool. You can do early grabs, late grabs. There's a bunch of different ways to mess with Toeside 360s and make it your own. So get out, experiment with it. I hope these tips are helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, leave those below. And thanks for watching.